Welcome to AWID. AWID is a global feminist membership and movement support organization. My name is Hakima Abbas. I'm the co-executive director of AWID. As an AWID member, you're joining a constellation of women's rights and feminist organizations, communities, networks, and activists who dedicate themselves to building a better world. At AWID, we believe in the power of feminist movements to take action, transform lives, and create just societies.
Women of all ages, occupations, and economic standing vowing to fight gender inequality, stereotypes, and much more.
We're delighted to have you join us and thousands of other feminists from around the world to build our collective power by sharing, learning, and taking action together. We invite you to fight back against fascisms, fundamentalisms, and authoritarianism, and to demand just economies. As an AWID member, you have the power to connect with feminists all around the world. You'll have access to rich resources, publications, and opportunities to learn and share. Welcome to AWID.
Hello and welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Kami Aramian and I'm the communications manager at AWID. As part of AWID's Feminist Realities journey, we launched the Feminist Film Club, which is a collection of short and feature films selected by feminist curators and storytellers from around the world, including Jess X. Snow, who curated the Asia Pacific program, Gabrielle Tesfaye, who curated the Africa and African Diaspora program, and Ezra Osban, who curated the Southwest Asia and North Africa program. We also have a Latin and Central American program coming up, which will be curated by Alejandra Laprea from Venezuela, and we'll launch it in September during AWID's Festival for Feminist Movements. We'll be releasing more info about soon. So the film we'll be discussing today is called The Turtle's Rage, and it tells the story of a mysterious man whose life has been molded by flight, expulsion, life in exile, and the failed return to Palestine. The film is composed of a daughter's search for answers from her father. Today we'll be talking to Pary El-Qalqili. But just a reminder before we dig in that we welcome questions and comments from the audience, so please throw it in the chat and we'll try our best to get to it at the end. Before we meet Pary, I'd love to show you the trailer of the film just in case you didn't catch it over the weekend.
Als ich 12 war, ging mein Vater nach Palästina zurück, ohne uns. Wir blieben hier, in Berlin. Jahre später stand er wieder vor unserer Tür. Müde Augen, müde Knochen. Meine Mutter schaute ihn an, sagte nichts und ließ ihn rein. Seitdem mein Vater aus Palästina zurück ist, sitzt er unten im Keller, wie eine Schildkröte, zurückgezogen in seinen Panzer. Meine Mutter wohnt oben. Sie streiten nicht mehr, sie gehen sich aus dem Weg. 2 Schatten, ein Gefängnis.
Es gibt keinen Unterschied für mich zwischen Deutschen und Israel.
بيقتلوا فينا قتل كان اليهود بيقتلوا فينا.
Das versucht, dass Palästinenser immer da waren und die wurden durch diese Zionisten vertrieben. ما هو لأنه الله واحد. أيوة.
هتاخد كيلو واحد.
Wir müssen auch gerade nicht weiterreden, ich bin total fertig.
كلها إلى كلا
النص يا أستاذ النص.
إلى كلا إلى
بس
إلى
خدها يا أستاذ.
Beautiful. Now let's meet the filmmaker. Pary, a writer and director based in Berlin. She studied cultural sciences at the European University Viadrina and the University of Buenos Aires before beginning film directing studies at the University of Television and Film in Munich. Her first feature film, The Turtle's Rage, which we'll be discussing here, received several awards with international film festivals. She co-founded a platform for feminist and international film critique through an initiative that I unfortunately cannot pronounce, so maybe you can help me, Pary.
Hello, it's called Nicht mein Tatort.
Beautiful, thank you. Did I miss anything? Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, that's about it. I'm trying to make films, and at the same time, I'm active in a feminist film political movement in Germany, because, yeah, as you know, maybe in Germany as well, there are only like something like 20% of the films which are made are from female directors. So although we are 50% who are actually studying directing, but we don't end up in the market. So I'm active in an organization which is demanding the quota for female directors.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, thank you. Just a quick reminder again before we dive into the conversation that this is a live discussion, so we encourage you to express your thoughts and comments in the comment section on our social media, and we'll try to get to it later. Okay, so Pary, first of all, I just want to say congratulations on making such a gorgeous film. It's really, for me, one of the most moving and intimate personal documentaries that I've ever seen. I really, really appreciated your style, your nonlinear storytelling style, and also the pace, and particularly the way that you weaved in the personal and the wider political context. My first question is related to this. I noticed that besides your father as the main character sharing his stories, you included several women who were sharing their stories as well. So I'm curious about why you chose to invite women, and in your opinion, why is Palestine a feminist issue?
That's a very good starting point. So, I mean, my first search was as a daughter confronting my father, and as it happens often in families, you have these dynamics of silence or shame connected to your own story. And of course, in the Palestinian context, Palestinian family stories are often connected to displacement, flight, trauma, life in exile, etc. And so for my father, it was very painful to speak to me. So we had all these struggles to at all speak about the past, because of course the past is so painful, but the present is also painful if you don't know so much about your family story as a daughter. So my only way actually to get to know more about his family history, but also about the collective Palestinian story, was by talking to the women in his family, because somehow, I mean, they share the same story of being expelled in 48 and having to escape through the Nakab Desert and so on, but still they were somehow speaking about it, whereas he really could not and did not want to find the words about it. And so that's the first thing. And then your second question, why Palestine is a feminist issue. I mean, if we understand feminism as a struggle for equality, it's equality for everyone, right? So it's whether you are gender fluid or whether you are queer, or if you define yourself as woman or man, or if you are a Palestinian woman or queer, Jewish, Israeli woman. I think in the end it's for equality, but I think because we as women really have so centuries of experience with oppression, we actually all can connect to the story of Palestinians because it's also a story of oppression.
Yeah.
And I think the solution must be a feminist one because
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me for sure. And just as a follow-up, I'm curious, like, I know, so I'm Armenian, so in my family, I look to the women as the keepers of cultural knowledge as well as stories. So do you think that there is like a similarity there in terms of the way that Palestinian culture and history is passed down?
I definitely think so, that in families, often things are passed on by women. But the dynamics, I mean, are so complex, right? Because of, I mean, I find it hard to say it's a gender thing. Who is the one who's transmitting more? I'm not so sure about it.
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
also
related
how
to
it's
so many other things, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I feel like there's different ways of transmission, right? Okay, so I'd love to hear a little bit more now about how the film was received, the reception of the film. And I'm curious, of course, about public reception, but also I really know if your father has seen the film and what he thought about the film.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with this one, because I think for him, I remember when we showed it first in a local art house cinema, only with a group of friends, he was so nervous. He put on his finest suit and he had like real physical signs of excitement. And I think for him, it was just out of the feeling that all these decades, his story as a Palestinian was not listened to in Germany, right? It was rather like criminalized and silenced. The resistance of Palestinians in Germany especially was totally crushed in the beginning of the 70s after the attack on Olympia in Munich. So out of this experience, that in the hegemonic discourse in Germany, Palestinian narratives don't have a place, I think it was very special for him to watch himself and also see other people watching him, listening to him, and giving him a tribute. So as I experienced his people, what I not would have expect elderly white German people identified with me as a daughter, for example, not with my father, but they identified with this quest for truth somehow within the family, right? Which is, of course, I mean, German history of the Second World War and the First World War and so on. In so many families, there are like silences and guilt, shame, and so on. So that was interesting for me, that not what I would have taken for granted before, that maybe elderly people would identify with my father, but they identified with my search as a daughter. So there were many surprising things, and people connected to different aspects in the film, some to how life in exile can unfold, how you always feel as a stranger, even if you live for decades in Germany. So there were all these different aspects people could connect to.
Yeah, I'm also curious in terms of the way that you were able to use film to take your father's truth and your father's story. I'm sure a lot of people connect with for different reasons, but this is specifically a Palestinian issue, right? And I'm curious about how that was received, like as a political issue through your film.
Well, I mean, on the in Germany really in the TV, but also in the dominant discourse, Palestinian lives and narratives don't play a big role. And if they are portrayed, they are rather portrayed in a negative way, right? So, I mean, only recently, because of all the demonstrations against the bombarding of Gaza, we had so huge demonstrations in Germany since a long time, again, for the Palestinian community and from people in solidarity. But the demonstrations were portrayed as anti-Semitic and aggressive and violent and so on. But that's only maybe, you know, a little part of the truth. And there was a huge wave of demonstrations, which was like, which was solidarity and intersectional struggles actually connecting, but that you would never see in the German media. So telling as a Palestinian in Germany your autobiographic story is already like a strong political statement, because it means like I'm showing you something what you don't want to see or listen to, because if you would, then you have to rewind your whole memory politics.
Yeah, that segues really well to my next question. So your father had a lot of really great punchy one-liners that I kept jotting down while I was watching the film. One was, if you aren't for us, you're against us. And another one, which was I think my favorite, was everybody fights from where they are, or something along those lines. So I'm curious, do you think that filmmaking is the way that you fight from where you are? And why do you think that film is an important medium when it comes to amplifying this particular issue, but also feminist issues and movements in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quote you just quoted, everyone is fighting from the place where he or she is of course so true for the Palestinian story, because so many people are living in exile, and in the different contexts you have a different struggle. And at the same time, even Palestinians in Israel feel like living in exile, right? So, and I think film has, I mean, yeah, what can I say? I mean, I did that film when I really had a huge gap of knowledge on so many levels. But I just think it has the potential to feel, experience things, or the cinematographic language for things which are so difficult to express otherwise. And it brings things together, which, I mean, I could have written before the script of that film, and there are so many loose ends because still there are mysterious things. But if you go for a fragmentary storytelling or a fragmentary montage, you have that option to actually embrace life, which can be so fragmented as well, no? And with so many ruptures and gaps. So for me, I think I could never conceive a Palestinian narrative in a, let's say, classical 3-act storytelling or something.
Like a straight line.
It would just be not the right form. Bisan, yeah. Sorry, my daughter. Yeah, Bisan. Sorry. Yeah, Bisan.
Thank you so much, Pary. So it's okay. Maybe we can take a little break here and talk with your daughter. So at this point, I'd really love to show folks a clip of your other short documentary, Human Resources, which explores the power dynamics between houseworkers and their future employers through found footage documentary. And then we can maybe talk a little bit about it. Here's the clip.
Yeah.
Okay, so describe yourself and give a short message to your future employer. Why should they hire you? What qualities do you have? Are you hardworking, honest, what?
Yes, I'm very hardworking because I'm working in the big villa, 5 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm cleaning from I'm start working from 6 o'clock until in the afternoon, from inside, outside in the house. I'm cleaning everything everywhere, every day. So I'm working very hard, but
Mm-hmm.
like that.
So you're a hard-working person.
Yes.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
kind of a housemaid and nanny are you? Describe yourself.
I'm hardworking,
Okay.
trustworthy, and honest and responsible to my duties.
Okay.
Hello, madam. Hello, sir. I am trustworthy, hardworking, honest, and good with the kids. So if you will hire me, I will try my best to do everything.
Okay. So what qualities do you have? Uh, are you an industrious lady, patient, flexible? What? What qualities do you possess?
I am I am understanding. I have a lot of patience.
What kind of a housemaid are you? Describe yourself.
Me,
Yeah, describe yourself.
I'm a hard worker. I'm hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a long patience to the child.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
To all my prospect employer, please can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
I need to work
Mm-hmm.
because I want to earn the money to support my daughter and my family.
Okay. What qualities do you have? Are you honest, hardworking, flexible?
I'm hardworking, ma'am.
You're a hardworking person.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so please keep your mobile phone on with you as Feminist will contact you. Thank
Okay.
you from madecv.com. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello, ma'am.
Welcome to madecv.com. What is your name and nationality?
Thank you. That was really quite powerful and really beautifully executed. The first time I watched it, I felt a little bit unsettled, actually, which I imagine is intentional. Just a reminder for our audience, we've shared the link for the full film in the chat, so you can watch the full film after the show. So I'm really curious, Pary, if you can tell us a little bit about this format and why you chose this format and how you sourced the footage.
Yeah, I mean, it's really found footage. So there is an online agency, madecv.com in the Emirates, in Dubai, which is actually just putting all those videos which you just saw, these interviews of those ladies who are applying to become like a housemaid in the Emirates. It's all online accessible. And I understand what you mean. It's kind of, that's really a question for filmmaking, because in the moment you are using that material, which is produced in a very hierarchic power relation, right, between this agency and those ladies who are actually exploited in this strongly capitalist system there. It's a decision to use that material, but it's tricky. I mean, I'm myself struggling with that decision on one hand, because in the moment I cannot, I can work on the rhythm or the montage to stress, to make some critique, or to, through the pace also of the film, to outline the violence actually that is happening there. But the violence is already inherent in the material. So it's a fine line where you could also say, well, that I'm like, because I'm not in personal touch with those women. I also just worked with their material with which they are exposed in the internet. So I'm aware of that. At the same time, of course, you could question yourself, like, okay, if you would like to do like a classical documentary film in the Emirates, and someone who's working in that dependent relationships to their, how you call them, masters, the question is who would be willing to participate in a film, who would not risk their position in the household and the visa and everything what's going with that, right? The income for the family back in the home country. So on that, regarding knowing this context, I see a justification for reusing this footage.
I see, to bring light to the issue. So I'm curious about what inspired you to make the film, and also to engage with this issue in general. What brought you to it?
Yeah, well, it's also a personal motivation because my older brother is living in Dubai since more than a decade. And so through visits at his place, I experienced the relationship between who are employed in the households in the different positions, right? As a maid, as a nanny, sometimes as a cook, as a gardener, as a driver. And I wrote a fictional script also, which was never produced. And I was interested in that power relation between the employers and the employees, if you want to call it like that. And on that way of writing the script, I just came to that material. And it, as you said, it's so unsettling that somehow I stayed with it. Like I could not stop watching these women being always asked the same questions as if they're just like, you know, like human material, which is out if it will be good material or bad material.
So I'd love to hear now a little bit about where the film circulated and what kind of reception it received. But more specifically, I'm curious, how have domestic workers and those who hire them responded to watching the film?
Actually, it had no circulation. I sent it to a few festivals, but no one, it was not shown.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be really curious to hear responses from people who are like domestic workers and activists and feminist activists that work as informalized workers and things like that. And also, you know, did your brother see it? How did he respond to it?
I don't really remember. I think when you are living in that situation, you are not really criticizing the whole system because you are part of it. So yeah. I don't remember a really critical comment, let's say like that.
Okay, thank you, Pary. We'll take a very, very short break now, and when we come back, we'll check if there are audience questions for you. So please put them in the comment section. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AWID. AWID is a global feminist membership and movement support organization. My name is Hakima Abbas. I'm the co-executive director of AWID. As an AWID member, you're joining a constellation of women's rights and feminist organizations, communities, networks, and activists who dedicate themselves to building a better world. At AWID, we believe in the power of feminist movements to take action, transform lives, and create just societies.
Women of all ages, occupations, and economic standing, vowing to fight gender inequality, stereotypes, and much more.
We're delighted to have you join us and thousands of other feminists from around the world to build our collective power by sharing, learning, and taking action together. We invite you to fight back against fascisms, fundamentalisms, and authoritarianism, and to demand just economies. As an AWID member, you have the power to connect with feminists all around the world. You'll have access to rich resources, publications, and opportunities to learn and share. Welcome to AWID.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, you're watching AWID's live stream with Pary El-Qalqili, the filmmaker of The Turtle's Rage. This is a good time to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms, and to share this broadcast on your feed. It will be available afterwards. And also check out AWID's Feminist Film Club. You can watch a lot more films online right away. So now I'd like to hear from the audience a little bit. So I'm going to check out the comments. I think some folks are asking about what you're working on currently, or what are some upcoming projects for you? What's next?
Well, I'm working since some time on a film with Ahed Tamimi, whom a lot of you might know, the Palestinian now young woman who was imprisoned when she was 16 for slapping an Israeli soldier who actually wounded her cousin severely on a demonstration. But it's a long-term project. It's a long-term project, of course, due to the whole situation, and of course of the, I would also say, challenges of a young girl who is receiving unwanted fame somehow.
Unwanted, and I'm curious, maybe I'm being naive, but unwanted in one way. She didn't mean to create like a public.
No, I mean, she's she comes from a very activist family and was, of course, in the media since she's very young. Yeah. Because her village and the resistance of her village received a lot of international attention already before. But I mean, I guess when she slapped that soldier, that was a gesture of resistance, right? Like an intuitive resistance. Of course, how could she know that this would stir so much attention? And then her imprisonment. And then there was this huge campaign launched to free her from prison because she was a minor, and I mean, she was put in front of military court. I think she could not expect that what would happen, and I mean, you cannot control that once this international, let's say, international media outlets, if all of them are suddenly interested in you as a teenager. I think it was a huge burden for her that there were so many expectations on her to take on that role of a speaker for Palestinian freedom and so on. I think it was very heavy for her.
That's really interesting. Is there anything that our audiences should know about this issue? Is there any more support, ways to support, or ways to get more information or anything like that you'd like them to know about?
I mean, I think if you just follow what's happening in Palestine, even now on the ground, you can follow the people in Sheikh Jarrah, but you can follow everyone right now in Palestine, because I think it's it's a special momentum where really Palestinians are unifying again. And actually also, like my father said, everyone is in a mode of resistance right now, right? So there's so much to follow. Where to start?
Sure. We have one more question. Can you share your views on the state of Palestinian documentary filmmaking, both inside Palestine and outside?
That's a difficult one. I mean, because I'm not strongly connected to the Palestinian scene in Palestine itself, because I've never lived there. I only came also as a visitor, as a traveler, as a filmmaker. Of course, I know quite some people from the scene there. I know what they are building up and so on. But what's the specific question? Like my views on it, I just know that, I mean, everyone is building up an infrastructure. They have great filmmakers. They have their own, I mean, networks. They have their own equipment. It's a struggle also for independence, how to make films in Palestine, how to make films if you don't want to depend on the infrastructure of your colonizers. So, yeah, and outside it's I could only speak about the German context, how it is to make films as a Palestinian in Germany, which is quite difficult, as I said before, because of the rather hostile discourse about Palestinians in Germany.
But I imagine in Europe there's a lot of funding for documentary filmmaking too. So I'm sure there is a bit of a sticking point there where you want to create the films and you want to put out the content that feels true to you and aligned with your values, and at the same time you're struggling with So I can see how that can be challenging. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you coming on today and taking your time away from your family and your daughter to talk with me about your work. I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing your future projects. So please keep us posted. And that's all for today. Thanks so much to you and to our support team and our audience for joining us. Please share this video and follow us online. And take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.